And we're back. I'm going to be making a swim bait that is again something that I've never made before, but I'm trying different things. The last one I made was a hinge bait. It came out pretty good. I'll probably make another one at some point with maybe a looser hinge, but we'll see. A while back I made this deep diver, and really pleased with the way it came out, and it floats good too. This time around I'm going to be making one that is a little bit different in the shape. It's got a little more of a curve to the body. It's a little more pointed on the front. And this is going to be a jerkbait. It's going to be a rattling jerkbait. So this is the first time I'm going to put a rattle in a bait. And I've looked online and tried to find out what different ways that they do it, and I've decided on one that one guy uses coin. So this isn't my idea, but it is someone else's. But it looks very doable. I've ordered a bunch of ball bearings. They're pretty cheap. On Amazon, there's like $4 or $5 for like 500 of them. They come all different sizes. I think I'm going to be using the 1/4-inch size, and I've taken them out of the little bottles and I've put them in these pill bottles. And with a little luck, we'll have a bait that rattles. This one, I'm going to want it to sink slowly. So that's going to be tricky. I'll have to pre-finish it and then put it in water with the weights and the ball bearing and so forth, and see how it sinks. And if it doesn't sink enough, I'll have to add more weight. And if it sinks too much, I'll have to drill out some of the lead that I put in the belly of it. So, yeah, I think that's how I'll do it. And I need a little bit smaller eye. So I have a new paper punch on order with a 1/4-inch punch to it, and I think that will be good for making some eyes for this. So, on with the making of this bait. There's the template glued onto a piece of wood. It's pine. Fun fact, or facts. I've been making all my baits from this one piece of pine that started out to be about 4 or 5 feet long. And I've got tons of maple and oak and walnut here, but I've been using pine because it carves easy. This piece of wood right now, you can't see it, but there's a crack going from here right about up to there. So I'm done with this piece of wood. And in a place like Maine, where you can't turn around without running into a pine tree that's 16 to 24 inches in diameter and 120 feet tall, I had no other pine in the shop. Because I don't really work with pine much. In Maine, it's considered sort of like a junk wood. You can't burn it. It's not a hardwood that you build furniture with, although a lot of people do like pine furniture. But up in the attic, I found this old board. This is a piece of a very long board. The only piece I have left. My brother and I cleared a lot to build my house, and we cut the wood and we had it sawn up, and half my house is built with this piece of wood. And this is what's left. And that was done in 1980 or 81. 80 or 81. And this is the last piece of wood that's left from it. So I cut a piece off, strip off, and cut a chunk of that for this bait. So 80, 20, this is 40-year-old wood that this bait will be made from. Fun fact, anyway. Maybe not so fun. I don't know. It is for me. Interesting. The wood, when I'm cutting it, is old, and it kind of smells old. It smells attic-y sort of. It's like, you can't describe it. But it's dry and it's not punky. It's still good. So We'll see how that goes. I want to leave plenty of thickness in the middle of the body. And the reason for that is two. One, I need a thick area for the rattle to be. And then two, I do want this jerkbait to have a kind of a thick middle. And when that happens, when you do that to a bait, it tends to give more of a wobble. And if this is going to have this ball bearing bouncing back and forth, more of a wobble should make that more accentuated. So from here to here, it's going to be pretty much full width, then it's going to taper to the nose and taper to the tail. Taper it from here to there. And on the back side, from here to there. Notice, for you engineers, that I don't always measure everything. Does it always come out right? No. But does it always come out bad? No. Time to cut it out. I really hit the taper on this one nicely. It's extremely symmetrical, to my eye anyway. Time to carve. I think I'm going to carve a couple of gills on this. I'm not just going to paint them on. I'm going to paint them too, but I'm just going to carve them. And you go for a big eye. The rattle is going to go right about there. And you'll see how I'm going to put that on in a minute. Yeah, I think that's what I'll do. It's very light though. I'm really concerned about that sinking. I'm going to have to put a lot of lead in it, I think. We'll see. Well, I'm going to be drilling a hole through here to put the ball bearing in, and then making a recessed area for coins on either side, so it'll be able to rattle between the coins. I'm going to glue them in. I brought different coins out. I didn't know exactly what size I'd be using. Nickels are obviously too big, and pennies are kind of too big. So it looks like it'll be a dime, but that's almost too big also. I wish I had a smaller coin or I'd made a larger bait. But this will have to do because I don't have anything else that will suffice at this size. And I want something nice and solid, not a little piece of wood or some glue or something. I'll look around, but it looks like a dime is going to be it. I drilled a couple of holes, and it looks like 3/4 fits a dime really good, and 7/8 fits a nickel, but I'm using a dime, so 3/4 it is. Well, after a lot of tinkering with this, there's 2 dimes here, I've decided that 2, let's see, what size are they? 2 5/32 ball bearings tend to make the best rattle. It's still not as loud as I'd like it to be. But it'll have to do. I'm well into this process now, but I'm using some baking soda to cover the dimes that are in there, and then a little super glue. And it's a messy process, that's why you haven't seen too much of it. Well, here's the bait completely enclosed. It's not pretty now, but it's sanded smooth. Now for the other hardware. And again, with the eye loops. I've got that ball bearing in there, those two ball bearings, and those dimes, which will add some weight to this, but I need this thing to sink, so I've got to put some weight in this. I'm going to drill 2 lead holes, and I'm going to drill them a little deep, although I can't go beyond the halfway point, because if I do, when I pull it through the water, it'll roll too much. I need the weight in the bottom. So here goes. There it is with the holes plugged, and I have my 3 holes for my wire grommets, so those go in now. I need to get some more epoxy. Here it is with the gills carved. It was a long, laborious process, but it looks a little messy now, but it's kind of sanded. I need a little bit more right there, and then it'll be ready for dipping for the sealer, and we'll go from there. I also took a minute to drill a couple of holes for the eyes that I'll be making. Until tomorrow. And it's tomorrow. The first of several coats of a white primer base go on. And I'm going to seal it with UV resin to give a smooth base for painting afterwards. And into my homemade UV curing black light system. And I'll set the timer and be back later to do the painting. And it's looking really good for painting. Now to do the scales using window screen. And some silver paint for the scales. a little black lightened with some white, and we got some gray. I need to make my own templates for painting the gills. Not easy to do, got to do it by eye. And another template for a small fin on each side. And now for a series of accent colors. This is a lateral stripe of green. And some red in various areas around the gills and the fins. And finally some blue around the back and around the face to tie it all together. And a little black highlight around the back of the gills to make them stand out more. And we're going to need some eyes, so let's make some. This is holographic paper. And I'm going to glue it on these nails, and even though you're not seeing it, I'm going to make 3 sets. Silver, red, and a sepia, which is kind of a brown. A Q-tip works best for putting the pupils on. And I put a drop of UV resin on each one and put it in a curing tank, and this is the result. It does look good, I have to admit. And 2 final coats of UV resin, cured for about 30 minutes, and we're done. By the way, I did test it in a bowl of water, and it does sink slowly, just as I wanted it to. We'll try it in the spring.